What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back. And as always, thank you for joining me. My name is Paul Brettel, the site editor over at Dairyland Express, where we cover the Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and Badgers. I also have a new article out every Monday and Friday over at Cheesehead TV. And as it says at the bottom of the screen here, you can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So for today's episode, similarly to what we did before the Green Bay Packers took on the Rams, we're going to talk about what to watch for. This is inspired by my Big Questions article that I come out with each week previewing the Green Bay Packers upcoming matchup. This week at Dairyland Express, I had 6 of them, 6 big questions facing the Green Bay Packers ahead of their matchup with the Chicago Bears. And for this video, I'm actually going to discuss 7 topics. So let's dive on in. First up, it's going to be important for the Green Bay Packers to contain Justin Fields, keep him in the pocket. Andy Dalton is not the starter. Chicago has already announced that will be Justin Fields for this week. And he's coming off a rib injury. So how many designed running plays Chicago is going to draw up for him, read options, that I do not know. But at the end of the day, if there's nothing available downfield or if there's pressure, he's going to look to extend the play with his legs. Green Bay needs to do their best. And this is going to fall on, it's a group effort, but this is going to fall largely on the edge rushers, Rashawn Gary, Jonathan Garvin, Preston Smith, to keep him in the pocket. If they're able to keep him in the pocket, that's going to allow Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, the interior, to get home, limit his ability to extend plays, but also apply pressure and hopefully convert those pressures into sacks. Green Bay has faced other mobile quarterbacks this season, and they've done a very good job of this, at keeping those quarterbacks contained and in the pocket. Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, that was a 3-game stretch. Green Bay only gave up 601 passing yards combined to those quarterbacks, which is 1 passing touchdown, and they came away with 4 interceptions. Again, it's a group effort, but a big part of their success was that the defensive front, particularly the edge rushers, were able to keep those players in the pocket. If Field is able to break contain, he's going to extend drives. He's going to convert first downs. Keeping him in the pocket, as I mentioned, is going to apply pressure, and it's going to help this Green Bay Packers defense get off the field. Next up, the Green Bay Packers have the opportunity to clinch a playoff spot this week. Now, with the Vikings winning on Thursday, they can't win the division this week. Green Bay's magic number is still 2. Magic number means that the Green Bay Packers, of their final 5 games, they either have to win 2 of them, the Vikings either have to lose 2 of their final 4, or they can split. The Packers win 1 of their final 5, the Vikings win 1 of their final 4. Just some combination has to equal 2. So since the magic number is still at 2, they can't win the division this week. It's at least going to have to wait 1 more week to do so. But they can clinch a playoff spot with a win against Chicago and then some help. They'll need the New York Jets to knock off the New Orleans Saints. They'll need the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the San Francisco 49ers. If those 3 things happen, Green Bay has a playoff spot. Now, that's the first box that the Packers, really every team with, that's competing, wants to check off. But we know this Packer team, they have much greater aspirations than just being a playoff team. They're chasing that number 1 seed, and 9-3 right now. They're a game behind the Arizona Cardinals, who are 10-2. The Cardinals play the Cardinals play the Los Angeles Rams this weekend. And since Green Bay beat Arizona earlier this season, they have the tiebreaker. So those 2 teams just have to finish the season with the same record, or of course, Green Bay being better, and they'll have the advantage over them. Currently, Tampa Bay is also 9-3, but the Packers have the advantage over them at the moment because the tiebreaker, since those teams didn't play each other, is conference record. So Green Bay has a better NFC conference record than what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do at this time. Dallas is 8-4. The Rams are 8-4, but Green Bay is chasing the Arizona Cardinals. But every team that's competing, they have the same goal each year. That's to clinch a playoff spot, clinch the division, and then hopefully get as high of a seed as possible. The Packers have the opportunity, with some help, on Sunday to check that first box. Next up is, can this run defense slow David Montgomery? Now, I've talked about it before. I know I've written about it before. This run defense, numbers-wise, stats, not dominant by any means. They're giving up 4.1 yards per rush. That's the 20th. That ranks 20th in the NFL. By DVOA, they don't rank very well either. But when you consider how they've performed past seasons, they're certainly improved. We haven't seen that game where the opponent is able to control the game on the ground. We've seen that numerous times the past 2 seasons. That hasn't been the case this year. Green Bay is yet to allow a 100-yard rusher this season. Also, when you take into consideration that Joe Barry really heavily utilizes light boxes in an effort to take away the passing game, a lot of the run defense falls on strictly that front five because there isn't a ton of additional help. So when you roll all those factors together, they've performed much better this season than what we've seen in the past. Chicago, David Montgomery, he didn't play the first time these two teams met. It was Khalil Herbert who actually rushed for 97 yards. So he almost got to that 100-yard mark. He averaged over 5 yards per carry. So he was able to find success. You can expect Chicago to lean heavily on David Montgomery. It's what they've done. He has 38 carries just in the last 2 weeks. He's only played in 8 games this season, but he ranks 20th in total rushing yards, 22nd in attempts. The Bears are going to lean on him heavily. One, because their passing game just isn't that effective. They rank last in passing yards per game this season. But two, I imagine their strategy against Aaron Rodgers, this Packers offense, is going to be to slow the game down, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines, limit the number of possessions that the Green Bay Packers have. And to do so, that means running the ball and running the ball effectively. So expect a heavy dose of David Montgomery, and it's going to be, it's not going to be an easy task to slow him down by any means. Next up, can Green Bay continue to have that deep ball success? So games 1 through 10 this season, I have an article devoted to this entire topic over at Cheesehead TV that came out, I think it was a little over a week ago now. So check that out. But the Green Bay Packers weeks 1 through 10, they did not have success downfield whatsoever. But Aaron Rodgers was 8th in downfield attempts. And a downfield attempt by Pro Football Focus is their definition is a pass that travels through the air at least 20 yards. So on those plays, Aaron Rodgers was 8th in attempts. He was 13th in yards, however, and then he ranked near the bottom in yards per attempt and completion percentage. So this was not, and we can see it with our own eyes. We don't need the numbers to tell us. But this was not the same effective offense that we've seen in recent years with those downfield pass attempts. Now, what's the reason? As I always say, there's a number of them. And this isn't going to be all of them, but not having MVS for a good portion of the season, that did not help. The offensive line play, they've held up well, all things considered. But 2020, this group was dominant. This group is not dominant right now. They're good, but they're not dominant. I think that's a factor. We've seen the Packers have seen a lot more cover 2 with the safeties over the top. That's designed to take away the big play. And also, I don't think that Rodgers, his receivers, the lack of practice time that they've had over the last 6-7 weeks, I don't think that's been a positive for them at all either. So all that's contributed, and among other things, of course, to their inability to connect on the deep ball. However, their last 2 games before the bye against Minnesota and Los Angeles, we saw Aaron Rodgers and this offense find their groove a little bit. Rodgers had 6 completions on 12 attempts. He was first in attempts, second in completions at 12 and 6, second in yards, 4th in yards per attempt, and second in pass rating. They're beginning to find their groove, and by Sharp Football's explosive pass play rate, just in that 2-game span from having that effectiveness, they went from being ranked 13th in explosive pass play rate all the way up to 8th. So now they're going to be up against a Bears defense that ranks 20th in that category. So hopefully, and it's not just this week, it's going to be for the remainder of the season, because even though the run game is important, I know I talk about that a lot, we're going to see a lot of the quick passing game with this offensive line to provide them some help. But you have Aaron Rodgers under center, and this LaFleur offense, it's designed to take those shot plays periodically throughout the course of the game. And of course, it's important to hit on those. And even just hitting on a few of them, it's going to help keep the defense honest as well. So those safeties, corners, everyone's not creeping up. So not just this week, but through the rest of the season, it's going to be very important as this offense tries to find their groove there, because they haven't been clicking like they were a season ago, and this is one of the reasons why. But it's going to be important that they continue to find success on the deep ball, and hopefully against this Bears defense, they'll have that opportunity to continue that. Next up, can the Green Bay Packers get over their post-bye week blues? Under Matt LaFleur, this team has had a ton of success. We all know that. But one thing, if we can nitpick, is that coming off their bye weeks, they've really struggled. Now, I know it's a small sample size. It's 2 games. And in their defense, it came against 2 very good teams, and both games came on the road. In 2019, it was against San Francisco, who was the NFC representative in the Super Bowl that season. In 2020, it was on the road against Tampa Bay, who won the Super Bowl. So those are definitely big factors at play. But the concerning part, if the Packers had went on to lose each of those games and it was, 30-27, 28-21, something in that ballpark, that would be a different story. But the fact that they, out of the bye week, lost to San Francisco 37-8, the fact that they lost to Tampa Bay 38-10, I mean, they got dominated. They looked flat. They were taken out of the game very quickly. That's the concerning part. And against Chicago, of course, I'm not expecting that to happen. Packers are the by far more talented team. It's at home. I expect them to win. But if they look sloppy, if hopefully not, but if they were to lose, Matt LaFleur, his coaching staff, they need to do some real reflecting at that point and how they operate during the bye week. And changes are going to have to be made. Again, it's a small sample size, but losing this type of game at home against this opponent, this Bears opponent, it just cannot happen, especially coming off a bye week. That's supposed to be to your advantage. And so far, it hasn't been for the Green Bay Packers. Couple more. Green Bay Packers offensive line. The Bears, they don't have Khalil Mack this week. He has been placed on season-ending IR. He's been there for a few weeks, but this Green Bay Packers offensive line, this patchwork offensive line, they're still going to be tested. And as I said, they've held up very well this year, all things considered, the injuries, the movement that's taken place. They are coming off a performance against the best by several metrics defensive front in football in the Los Angeles Rams. But given this unit's lack of experience overall, this is going to be a question every week that we ask ourselves. How are they going to hold up? And this week they're going to be up against Robert Quinn, Bears edge rusher. He's 11th. He has 11 sacks, which is tied for the 7th most of the season, according to Pro Football Focus. He moves around from the right side to the left side, but I imagine we're going to see him lined up quite a bit on Yosh Nijman. And then Akeem Hicks. He's listed as questionable. He hasn't played since week 9 with an injury, but at Friday's practice, he was a full participant. So my expectation, and again, just speculation, but my expectation, because he was a full participant, is that he is going to play. And we all know Akeem Hicks up the middle. He has the ability to certainly wreck a number of plays. And going up against John Runyon, Lucas Patrick, Royce Newman, that's definitely a matchup advantage towards the Chicago Bears. And I will say Green Bay did a nice job against both these players the last time that they matched up against them. But this is a different offensive line configuration again. Elton Jenkins is in at left tackle, it's Yosh, and so on and so forth. And we know that these are two players, Robert Quinn and Akeem Hicks, that cannot be taken lightly. So something to keep our eyes on, because we know the name of the game is keeping Aaron Rodgers upright. And there are ways, as we saw against the Rams, and the Packers executed beautifully, there are ways for them to mitigate that pass rush, lean on the run game, quick passes, using motion, play action, boots. All of those tactics can be used to help benefit the offensive line, tight end chips as well for the tackles. So I expect more of that this week, because those are two very stout pass rushers that Green Bay is going to be up against. Last one, the field goal unit. Can this field goal unit find some sort of consistency? Even against the Rams, where things started well, it ended with a Mason Crosby miss. I've talked about it before. Again, I've written about it. Not all of the misses fall squarely 100% on the shoulders of Mason Crosby. There are other factors. There's been poor snaps, poor holds by Bojorquez, and there's been times where the blocking unit has been horrendous, downright horrendous. All that has culminated into these issues where Mason Crosby has 9 missed field goals already this season, which is the second most, or it's the most since 2012, when he had, I believe it was 12 missed field goals in what was just an abysmal season. We can look at the Chiefs game. We can look at the Vikings game as games that Green Bay could have won had some field goals been made. They nearly lost the Cincinnati game as well. For a team with Super Bowl aspirations, this has to get buttoned up. These are the type of issues that get you eliminated come the playoffs in January. So hopefully moving forward, starting with this Bears game, we can see more consistency. So those are my 7 big things to keep our eyes on this week. If you have any, please, that you'll be watching, reach out to me on Twitter, message me in the comments below. Be happy to take a look at all of that. But again, thank you all for joining me. As always, I greatly appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. You can find all my work at Dairyland Express and Cheesehead TV. Until next time, friends, take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack Go.